when Sean Connery left, the producer said, would you like to be the next Bond? I said, have you heard my British accent? Click.
Is that true?
Time may have passed, but these Hollywood legends are still standing, some well into their 90s and beyond. They've danced across black and white screens, acted alongside the biggest icons in cinema history, and witnessed the golden age of Hollywood firsthand. One Oscar-winning star is now over 100 and still charms everyone with her wit. Another actor, once the heartthrob of the 50s, now shares stories from a time most of us only know through film. In this video, we'll reveal the oldest Hollywood stars you didn't know are still alive today. Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks was born all the way back in 1926, and now, nearly 100 years later, he's still making people laugh. He's not just a comedy star. He's like a living piece of comedy history. Very few people have won all 4 major showbiz awards, an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony, but Mel is one of them. And just when it seemed like he had done it all, he received an honorary Oscar in 2024, showing that people are still celebrating him even after so many years.
I'm risking COVID for them. Thank you. See you in the next...
Mel's amazing career began in the early days of television, when TV itself was still something new and exciting. He worked as a young comedy writer on Your Show of Shows, one of the most important TV programs of that time. He shared the writer's room with future stars like Neil Simon and Woody Allen. The room was so full of talent that funny ideas flew faster than the cameras could keep up. It was during that time that Mel became close friends with Carl Reiner. Together, they created a comedy sketch called The 2,000-Year-Old Man. What started as a private joke between friends turned into hit comedy albums and even won Mel a Grammy. At one point, those albums helped him pay the bills when money was tight. His clever humor actually kept his lights on. But Mel didn't stop there. He had a wild idea to make a musical comedy that made fun of Hitler. That became The Producers. Against all odds, the movie was a huge hit.
Springtime for Hitler, a gay romp with Adolf and Eva at Berchtesgaden. Wow.
We find the worst play in the world, a surefire flop. Step 2, I raise $1 million. A lot of little old ladies.
And won him an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay.
And the winner is Mel Brooks for The Producers.
Years later, he turned the story into a Broadway musical, which also became a huge success. Most people are lucky to have one big hit. Mel had 2 with the same story in both movies and theater. Then came the 1970s, a golden time for Mel. In 1974, he released 2 comedy classics in the same year, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Blazing Saddles used fast-paced jokes to make fun of racism in the Old West.
What is it?
Yes, if you will just sign this, Governor, right here.
Yes. What the hell is it?
Well, under the provisions of this bill, we would snatch 200,000 acres.
Young Frankenstein was a black and white tribute to old monster movies, starring the amazing Gene Wilder, who also starred in Blazing Saddles.
Now, that brain that you gave me, was it Hans Delbrooks? No. Good.
Mel didn't just direct. In Blazing Saddles, he played 5 different roles, some without even taking credit. But Mel also had a serious side. Quietly, he started a company called Brooks Films and produced deep, emotional movies like The Elephant Man and The Fly. He left his name off the credits so people wouldn't expect comedy. Mel's personal life was just as special. He was married to actress Anne Bancroft for 41 years, something rare in Hollywood. Their home was full of laughter, even during awkward moments. At one dinner party, their son Max surprised everyone by showing up dressed as a Nazi officer. Mel was shocked, but Anne calmly looked at him and said with a smile, "Max, epaulets really?" That kind of humor ran in the family. Max later became a successful writer himself, best known for his hit book, World War Z. Even as he got close to 100 years old, Mel kept going. In 2021, he released his memoir, sharing more funny stories from his life. In 2023, he came back with History of the World Part 2 on Hulu, more than 40 years after the original. He also did voice work for movies like Toy Story 4 and kept showing up on TV, always finding new ways to stay active, stay funny, and stay in the spotlight. Now, speaking of stars, let's take a look at the next legend in the spotlight, Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke was born way back in 1925, and now, at the amazing age of 99, he's still going strong. Even after all these years, he's full of energy, good humor, and a love for life that continues to shine. For over 70 years, Dick has been making people laugh, sing, and feel happy through his many performances. With his bright smile, playful spirit, and endless talent, he became one of the most loved entertainers in the history of Hollywood. Whether he was dancing on rooftops, telling jokes on TV, or making funny faces that made people burst into laughter, Dick always knew how to win over an audience. His big break came in the late 1950s when he appeared in a Broadway play. Then, in 1960, he starred in the musical Bye Bye Birdie, and his performance was so good that he won a Tony Award. That moment changed everything. Suddenly, he was a star. Everyone wanted to work with him, and people everywhere wanted to see more of this cheerful man with a twinkle in his eye and joy in his heart. Not long after his stage success, Dick became a regular on television. From 1961 to 1966, he played the kind and funny Rob Petrie on The Dick Van Dyke Show. It was a huge hit, and his on-screen chemistry with Mary Tyler Moore made them one of the most beloved TV couples of the time. Audiences couldn't get enough of their charm and humor. But Dick wasn't just a funny guy.
Jim Darling was in town?
I did.
When?
I asked you what we're doing tomorrow night, honey. Why would I ask you that if it wasn't on account of Jim Darling?
You never mentioned his name.
I didn't?
No.
He was a genius when it came to physical comedy. With just a goofy grin, a silly walk, or a pretend fall, he could have millions of viewers laughing until their sides hurt. He made it look effortless. For his incredible work on the show, he won 3 Emmy Awards and became a household name. Then, in 1964, he lit up the big screen in the magical movie Mary Poppins. He played not just one, but 2 characters, Bert, the lovable chimney sweep, and the grumpy old bank manager. His singing, dancing, and joyful energy made the film unforgettable. Sure, people still joke about his odd British accent, but it didn't matter. He had won their hearts. In fact, someone even offered him the role of James Bond after Mary Poppins. He just laughed and said, "Have you heard my British accent?" That kind of honesty made people love him even more.
When Sean Connery left, the producer said, would you like to be the next Bond? I said, "Have you heard my British accent?" Click.
In 1968, he starred in another fun-filled film, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, where he played a cheerful and clever inventor named Caractacus Potts. The movie was about a magical car that could fly and float, and Dick brought the whole story to life with his warmth and charm. Kids were amazed, parents were delighted, and the movie became a favorite for generations.
What a funny noise it's making.
It's talking to us. All engines talk.
What's it saying?
It's saying, chitty, 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 chitty.
Of course, many children still remember being a little scared of the creepy child catcher. Throughout the 1970s, he returned to television with the new Dick Van Dyke Show. Then in the 1990s, he became the star of Diagnosis, Murder, where he played a doctor who also solved mysteries. Even as he got older, he didn't stop performing. He appeared in movies like Dick Tracy and Night at the Museum. And at the age of 93, he came back to the world of Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins Returns, dancing and singing once more, like he was still in his prime. Now, even as he reaches the incredible milestone of 99 years old, Dick Van Dyke hasn't lost his sparkle. In 2024, on his 99th birthday, he shared that he was in talks for a new acting role, proof that he's still full of dreams and ready for more. When asked about his favorite memories, he smiled and named The Dick Van Dyke Show and Mary Poppins as the highlights of his career. In April 2025, he had to cancel a few events as traveling and being in large crowds had started to get a little too tiring. When someone asked him how he was doing, he gave a small smile and replied, "I feel old." Then, with his trademark humor, he laughed and said he was praying to reach 99. Even in that moment, his joyful spirit and sense of humor were clear as ever. Eva Marie Saint. Eva Marie Saint was born on July 4, 1924, in Newark, New Jersey, just an ordinary girl in a regular town. After college, success didn't come right away. She had to work hard for every small step. Her career began at the bottom, working as a page at NBC, doing errands and learning how the world of television worked. In New York City, she took every chance she could find, acting on the radio and in early TV shows in the late 1940s. Even before she became well known, people in the business were already calling her the Helen Hayes of television, a big compliment since Helen Hayes was one of the most respected actresses of the time. It was clear that Eva had real talent, and people in the industry saw it early. Her big break came in 1954, and it was huge. Her very first movie was On the Waterfront, which later became a classic. She didn't just get any role, she starred alongside Marlon Brando, one of the biggest actors in the world. For many, just working with Brando would have been a dream. But for Eva, it was her debut, and she didn't just blend in, she stood out. Her performance was so powerful that she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Behind the scenes, things weren't always smooth. The director, Elia Kazan, wanted real, deep emotions from his actors, and he used tough methods to get them. He even told Eva not to let Brando into a room during one scene, no matter what. Brando tried to distract her by joking around, but Eva stayed focused. That tension helped make her performance feel honest and intense, something audiences really connected with. After On the Waterfront, Eva didn't stick to one type of role. She wanted to challenge herself. In 1959, she starred in North by Northwest, directed by the famous Alfred Hitchcock, but Hitchcock didn't want her to play the same serious characters she had before. He wanted to show a new side of her. He even took her shopping for glamorous clothes, helped her change her voice to be softer and more mysterious, and showed her how to move with more grace. He told her to look Cary Grant straight in the eyes, keep her hands still, and speak in a smooth, lower tone. Hitchcock wasn't just directing a film, he was helping her create a new image. Eva rose to the occasion and gave one of her most memorable performances. Hitchcock made it clear, he didn't want gloomy, serious roles. He wanted Eva to shine with elegance and strength, and she did exactly that. Throughout her career, Eva didn't chase fame like many others. She carefully chose her roles, appearing in only about 20 movies, but each one mattered. She acted in serious dramas like Exodus and A Hatful of Rain, but also showed her fun side in comedies like The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. Even as time passed, she stayed respected in the industry. In 2006, she played Ma Kent in Superman Returns. In a touching moment, the film also used old footage of Marlon Brando, bringing her career full circle. But Eva's story isn't just about acting. What really made her stand out was the way she lived her life off-screen. In 1951, she married director Jeffrey Hayden, and they stayed married for 65 years until his death. Something very rare in Hollywood. Even when she wasn't making films, she stayed involved in the arts by doing stage readings, helping young writers, and supporting the creative community. In 2021, at the age of 97, Eva quietly retired from acting. Very few stars have had careers that lasted nearly 80 years, and even fewer stayed true to themselves the whole time. Now, at 100 years old, Eva Marie Saint is more than just the oldest living Academy Award winner. She's a lasting symbol of talent, grace, and quiet strength from Hollywood's golden age. So if you think Eva Marie Saint's story is amazing, just wait. There's still more to come. James Hong. James Hong, born in 1929 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He grew up as the child of Chinese immigrants. His father ran a small herbal medicine shop, a quiet little place full of roots, leaves, and remedies. But to young James, it became something magical. That's because traditional Chinese opera performers often stopped by the shop, and little James would sit nearby, completely captivated by their costumes, singing, and stories. Right then, something sparked inside him, a love for performing that never faded. His parents, like many immigrant parents, dreamed of stability for their son. They wanted him to have a respectable job, so James studied hard and earned an engineering degree from the University of Southern California, USC. It was a solid career path, but not the one he truly wanted. Deep in his heart, he didn't see himself working behind a desk or fixing machines. He saw lights, cameras, and scripts. He saw Hollywood. In 1953, James made a brave decision. He left the safety of engineering and took a leap into acting. But back then, Hollywood was not welcoming to people who looked like him. Asian roles were often played by white actors, wearing makeup to look Asian. And when Asian actors were hired, they were usually given embarrassing, one-dimensional parts, caricatures, not real people. But James Hong wasn't going to sit and wait for the world to change. He decided to be part of that change himself. He joined forces with another actor, Mako Iwamatsu, and together they founded East-West Players, the first major Asian American theater group in the U.S. It wasn't just a stage for acting, it was a stage for fighting back, for standing tall, and for giving talented Asian American performers a place to shine. At one point, around 70% of all Asian American actors in Hollywood were connected to East-West Players. That's how huge an impact James had. His acting career started small back in the 1950s. He landed minor roles alongside big stars like Clark Gable and John Wayne. They weren't leading roles, but James didn't care. He saw them as doors, and he walked through every single one. He took every role he could find, often playing waiters, shopkeepers, or background characters. But even in the smallest scenes, James gave it his all. He made each character unforgettable. As the years passed, something amazing happened. In the 1980s, James Hong became more than just that guy from that movie. He became a legend. His role as the spooky villain Lo Pan in Big Trouble in Little China gave audiences chills with his eerie eyes and haunting laugh. And just a few years earlier, he appeared in Blade Runner as the man who designed the replicant's eyes. It was a short scene, but one that stuck with people for decades. James didn't limit himself to one genre. He did everything: science fiction, horror, comedy, drama. He played a magical dry cleaner in Tales from the Dark Side and a strict maitre d' in the famous Seinfeld Chinese restaurant episode. James Hong's voice became just as iconic as his face. In Disney's Mulan, he was Chi Fu, the strict and fussy royal advisor. In Kung Fu Panda, he voiced Mr. Ping, the noodle-making goose and adoptive father of Po. Audiences loved him, and his performance in a Kung Fu Panda holiday special even won him an Annie Award. And he never stopped. He kept voicing characters in films like Turning Red and Wendell and Wild in 2022. Then came a moment of true triumph. At 93 years old, James took on a major role in the hit film Everything Everywhere All at Once. Surrounded by an amazing cast, he gave a performance full of emotion, strength, and freshness. The film became a cultural phenomenon, winning countless awards. And James stood proudly on stage as the entire cast received the Screen Actors Guild Award. That same year, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. At 93, he became the oldest person ever to be honored with one. The ceremony was a beautiful celebration, complete with traditional lion dancers, heartwarming speeches, and famous friends like Jamie Lee Curtis and Daniel Day Kim cheering him on. But it wasn't just about one man getting a star. It was about everything he represented. Even now, in his 90s, James Hong isn't slowing down. He's producing a new movie called Patty Lee and the Keepers of the Five Kingdoms. He's still dreaming, still creating, still shining. At his Walk of Fame ceremony, Jamie Lee Curtis said it best. It's about time. And she was absolutely right. James Hong gave everything he had to Hollywood, and after all those years, Hollywood finally gave something back. Next, we'll take a look at one of the amazing Hollywood stars. Let's explore Jacqueline White. Jacqueline White was born in Beverly Hills in 1922. In the 1940s, she had a short but unforgettable time in Hollywood, where her calm and confident presence stood out on screen. Now, at over 100 years old, she's one of the last people still alive from Hollywood's golden age. Her acting career lasted about 10 years, but her performances still attract fans of old classic films, especially the dark, dramatic kind called film noir. She didn't plan to be an actress. When she was 17, she was performing in a theater class at UCLA when a casting director noticed her. That moment changed her life. Soon after, she took a screen test and signed a contract with the major studio MGM in 1942. Even though she was talented and beautiful, MGM didn't give her leading roles. Like many young actresses at the time, she mostly played small parts while the studio focused on its big stars. Still, those early roles helped her learn and grow. She appeared in several movies, including a comedy with Laurel and Hardy called Air Raid Wardens. She also acted in Song of Russia and Three Hearts for Julia, where she performed alongside an old friend. Her career took off when she left MGM and joined RKO Pictures in 1947. At RKO, she started getting better roles that showed her true talent. She often played the second lead in big films and sometimes starred in smaller ones. These were the best years of her acting career, and in just a few years, she built an impressive list of films. One of her most important movies was Crossfire, which talked about serious issues like anti-Semitism. That same year, she played a softer role in Banjo, and later appeared in the action movie Mystery in Mexico. In the Western Return of the Bad Men, she worked with actor Randolph Scott, who she remembered as kind and respectful. She made 2 more Westerns, which became a small but special part of her career. Her most famous film was The Narrow Margin, released in 1952. It was a low-budget crime movie that turned out to be a classic. Oddly enough, she had already left Hollywood by the time it came out. After marrying Bruce Anderson in 1948 and moving to Wyoming, she thought her acting days were over. But while visiting Los Angeles, She happened to run into a director and producer at the RKO cafeteria. That lucky meeting brought her back for one final film. Even The Narrow Margin had some drama behind the scenes. After it was finished, the new studio owner, Howard Hughes, held back the release for 2 years. He even thought about changing the cast or reshooting it with bigger stars. In the end, only a few small changes were made, and the movie came out mostly as it was originally filmed. It was worth the wait. Critics praised its tight plot and suspense. Today, it still has a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes. After that, Jacqueline White walked away from Hollywood. At just 28, she chose to focus on her family instead of chasing more fame. While others kept acting, she built a peaceful life far from the spotlight. She raised 5 children in Wyoming and stayed happily married for over 50 years. Her husband passed away in 2000, but their long marriage showed her strong values and deep love. In her later years, she made a few public appearances at film festivals where young fans discovered her work. Now, at 102 years old, Jacqueline White is more than just a part of history. She's a living connection to one of the most magical times in movie history. Her films, especially The Narrow Margin, continue to inspire new generations of movie lovers. What are your thoughts on these incredible old Hollywood stars who are still with us today? Let us know your answer in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.